The Joint Admission and Matriculation Board (JAMB) dropped two notices today. Number one, they said that they have dropped the cutoff point for admission into a university to 150 point. And then secondly, that those that are seeking admission into educational and agricultural courses or degrees or certificates, I don't know what to say, will not need to write JAMB. So they will not need to sit for JAMB. So if you wanted to study in education, if you wanted to study in agriculture, apart from agricultural engineering, normal agriculture, those kind of soil sciences and the rest, you will not need to sit for JAMB. There are mixed reactions, but most of the people are kicking against it. They are saying JAMB has dropped the bar so low, so low, especially in education. Unfortunately, a lot of those people are people who are supporting the re-election of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But it's quite unfortunate. The educational system of every country tells you everything you need to know about that country. If you want to see why a country is behaving in a particular way, just look at their educational system. You see everything that is going on in Nigeria. Look at the educational system of Nigeria. You will get your answer. Knowledge, they say, is power, and there are no two ways about that. The educational system in Nigeria is quite an unfortunate thing, but if you went back to history, you would understand that it is deliberately made to run that way. Why was education introduced to Nigeria ab initio? It was a colonial arrangement. It wasn't meant to teach quality. It wasn't meant to impact knowledge. It wasn't meant to develop anybody. It wasn't meant for anything beyond communication. That's why they had a lot of grammar schools back during the colonial period, just to get the locals to learn the English language so that they will know how to communicate with the colonial masters. That was just the reason for the introduction of what we call today Western or formal education to Nigeria and to other parts of Africa. It could come in French, it could come in English. But the only reason for the introduction of what we today celebrate as formal or Western education to Nigeria and Africa was to teach the locals how to communicate with the colonial masters, so that if they asked you to go and bring your crops, you would understand. If they asked you to go and kidnap your brother or your sister and sell to them in exchange for mirrors, in exchange for hot drinks, you would understand. It wasn't meant to serve any other purpose. And it is upon this foundation that what we have today as our Ministry of Education, as our colleges, as our universities, as our institutions. It is upon this foundation of just know how to communicate in English that all these our educational systems are built. If that is the situation, what do you expect of that country? What do you expect of the intellectual base of the country? That is why a lot of people are saying that Nigerian graduates are unemployable. There is truth in every lie, and there is lie in some, most of the time, some rumors, but there is truth in every lie. Nigerian graduates are employable, but what kind of employment can a Nigerian graduate be opportune to? A lot of the time, you employ and train before they begin the actual job. It's because we do not have a formal educational system. Nigeria does not run a formal educational system. What Nigeria runs is largely semi-formal and mostly informal. Nigeria's educational system is based on a semi-formal and an informal education. Nigeria does not operate a formal education. That is why Nigeria has the third largest population of illiterates in the world. The first is India, followed by Pakistan. The third is Nigeria. But the difference between these three countries is that India and Pakistan, especially India, have a very strong intellectual base. They have people that have gone to school to the depth of it. They have a formal educational system that works perfectly, even though they still have some of the largest population of illiterates. But in the Nigerians example, we have the third largest population of illiterates, and then a very big population of semi-literates. We are mostly semi-literates in Nigeria. That is why you will see that an average Nigerian is studying a lot of different things. An average Nigerian is versatile. This versatility that we all celebrate in Nigeria or as Nigerians is a coping mechanism, so that if this one no work, make this other one work. There is no straightforward, there is no vision. You just want to do several things. You have a BSc in economics, you have an MSc in public affairs, you have a PhD you might go and have a PhD in business administration. That's how we just mix everything, so that if an opportunity comes out of the business sector, you present yourself as qualified. If an opportunity comes out in academics, you present yourself as qualified. We just want to do a whole lot of things so that you can stand a chance. That is why the country is heading nowhere. We are from a country that puts the basic requirements for presidency, academic qualification, as school certificate or its equivalent. A lot of people are only focusing on the school certificate. They do not get to know what the equivalent means. Equivalent even goes down to say that even if the person has attended a seminar in a country, whatever seminar at all, and got a seminar certificate, that person is academically qualified to be president. What that means is that Even if someone organized, a seminar on how to bake cake, or a seminar on how to wash plates, a seminar on how to wash clothes, and this candidate or this contestant attended that seminar and was given a certificate of attendance, that person is educationally qualified to be president. This is the educational qualification that is enshrined in the Constitution. That's why you can see how the country is. Anybody can be. What that means is that a stark illiterate is educationally qualified or academically qualified to be president of Nigeria. And when you become president of Nigeria, someone who is looking for the position of a sales girl or a sales boy in a corner store will be asked to provide academic qualification, SSCE. Meanwhile, the person who is the president of the country, who determines the fate of that country, can just sit down somewhere and they are teaching them how to bake cake, and then they give him a certificate of attendance, and that becomes a qualification for president academically. He still went down to say the INEC chairman can declare someone the INEC chairman can declare someone qualified. If the INEC chairman says you are qualified, you are qualified. So in that equivalent, the academic qualification of someone that is presenting themselves for president is that the INEC chairman says you are qualified. So we do not care about education in Nigeria. We just want to survive by any means. So when JAMB is dropping the bar, it's not a thing that we are supposed to be surprised about. It's just the system playing the way it was designed to play. And this is why some of us will not stay quiet. We will keep talking about system. There is nothing you will do in Nigeria that will work. As long as the system has not been fixed, it will not work. You can't compare Nigeria with any country in the world at all, not even with other African countries. Because some of us have visited one or two places, so we are not talking out of hearsay. We are talking from first-hand experience. If you went to places like North Korea, not this North Korea that everybody is afraid. We think it is only missiles that North Korea produces. North Korea is one of the countries with the highest literacy rates. The literacy rate of North Korea is almost 100%. Lithuania, Uzbekistan, Luxembourg, Andorra, Greenland. There are a lot of these countries that have very wonderful literacy rates. There is Finland, there is Estonia. These countries are countries that prioritize education. And you would see that there is even Norway, where Professor Johan Galton comes from. You will see that these countries are not mentioned whenever they start mentioning crisis around the world. These countries are just calm, doing their thing, no noise, you're not hearing about them. It is because they prioritize education. A country that prioritizes education is a leading country in whatever you think of humanity. But Nigeria is swimming in illiteracy, and we produce half-baked literates that, everybody want to say they are educated. That's why everybody wants to go to school, because it's not about content, it's about bragging. I went to school. Very important is the fact that not everybody is supposed to go to school. There are people who do not have business going to even secondary school. If you've gone to the primary school, that's the universal basic education. You can be what you want to be. After all, your constitution even doesn't need you to go to primary school to become president. Just have a certificate of attendance. That's all. So they rush to wanting to go to the university in Nigeria is just for ego tripping, nothing else. That's why we are from a country where someone has an MSc, a master's degree, and goes back to start competing in a business line that is championed by illiterates. If you went to the market now, you see a lot of people doing trade, buying and selling, who are people with master's degrees. But that sector is mostly occupied by people who never went to school. A lot of these people that you see by the street doing POS business are graduates. They have certificates, because there is no quality in the certification. They just want to go to school. So there are people who do not have business going to school. But when the JAMB has opened the window, go inside, a lot of people who do not have business with going to school will go to school more. Entrance examination into the university is supposed to be not tough, but the stakes are supposed to be very high, because we are talking about education. Education is the pillar of society. But that pillar is what the educational system in Nigeria is taking away. How can you say a person who wants to become a teacher in future should not take JAMB? What that means is that one day you are going to be teaching people how to take JAMB without taking JAMB yourself. I don't know, but I know where the country is going, because it is the colonial concept. These are things that keeps Nigeria perpetually a third world country. I'm short of words. Then there is the guy called Alex Onya. His focus is in building education in Nigeria. He moves from school to school, and then recently started exposing bad eggs in the educational system in our universities. He's doing a wonderful work. But if Alex Onya wants to expose bad eggs, he go expose say he go tire. If I gave my own example of what happens in the university, people go cry. Where I graduated from, they have a policy of keeping back their best graduating students. I don't know if I would say fortunately or unfortunately for me, I found myself being the best graduating student in my set. So I was supposed to be kept. When I went and asked to be kept, I was told that there is a need for a graduate assistant, as in the department was in dire need of a graduate assistant, and that space is automatically given to fresh graduates, and then they'll ask you to start your master's program. I was told clearly, graduate assistant, that is supposed to be for fresh graduates. I was told that heart, the guy even told me in pidgin, heart, if say you don't get PhD now, this job, they for just give you straight, now you get am. If say you just get PhD inside a university, if I had a PhD, I would have gotten an express graduate assistant, PhD, married a two. Well, I went on to start an MSc, but right before my eye, they were bringing people from other states to come and become graduate assistants. I was in that department doing MSc, and they employed 5 graduate assistants. I no wan burn anybody cable, but it is well, just like they say. And then I went back to the department. I said, wetin dey happen now? And I said, okay, apply. Then a new HOD came, and that HOD was my teacher. I applied and submitted my application. You know, he signed an approval. He wrote on my application letter, he was the best graduating student of his set. We need him in this department. If the HOD could do such recommendation, it's supposed to be express. Now he gave it to me. I would have to take it to the dean of my faculty for approval, and then I'll take it to the vice chancellor. Omo, I got to dean of faculty, collected the letter. I stood there, he looked at it. He looked at the top and then looked at the bottom and saw my name. And he said, "You are Igbo?" I said, "Yes." He folded the paper and put inside the envelope and dropped it somewhere and asked me to go. He didn't even say, "I'll get back to you." He just said, "Go." When he said go, I was like, nothing like I'll get, because we didn't have contact. I said, okay, maybe he would contact the HOD to tell the HOD to get me to come take my approval to the VC. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 months passed. I went back to his office. I'm busy. I kept going. I'm busy. I'm busy. I went to my HOD. My HOD, I kept going until one day my HOD stood up and went with me to the faculty dean. I was like, this guy has been coming to tell me you've always been posting him. He said, no, don't worry. Okay, come back tomorrow. Tomorrow I went there, he wasn't around. And his secretary now told me that it is where I come from that is the problem. I said, for real? I said, okay, so what can I do? The secretary now said she would advise me to go to the VC and tell the VC that I have passed a recommendation from my HOD. It is the faculty's dean that is sitting on my application. I start wondering, the VCs in universities are like presidents. How will I be able to get through to the VC? But I needed to try. I went to the VC's office. It was the secretary. The secretary, you can't meet the VC. as a student in the school, it will always end on the desk of the secretary. I explained to the secretary. The secretary asked me to go and tell the dean that the VC said he should sign my letter and hand to me. I said, I will go and tell him verbally. Can't you write to him? She said, no, I should go and tell him like that. He will release it. I went back. Luckily, I met him and I told him. The look on his face alone just told me everything. He was mad at me already for going to the VC. He said, okay, I should go back and ask the VC to write to him that he knows that there is no employment window currently and I am here disturbing him. I should go back and tell the VC to write to him, ordering him to release my application letter. I went back and told the VC's secretary, and the secretary said there is nothing she could do. That was the end. I still stayed there and people were getting employed into different levels in academia. Recently, a university employed teaching staff from different disciplines. What do I mean? I am not joking. I particularly know. Oh, all right. For example, you are a graduate of sociology. You have your BSc and MSc in sociology, and then you are employed into the Department of Economics to teach economics. In fact, the week you were employed, you were given course allocation. Sociology, teaching in economics. Economics, be employed in like political science. They just employ based on man, no man. They don't even care. So education has no place in Nigeria. The only way out is for you. That's what I did. If I was relying on what I was taught in school, bro, my own mumu for pass or there. Just develop yourself personally. You see that area of study, and somehow I was doing that even before I passed JAMB. Before I start for JAMB, I started studying, reading books. I was reading things I didn't need. I was just reading. That is the only way. If you say now wetin dey teach you for class, my brother, you'll be unemployable. In fact, we are all unemployable because even those that are employable are not employed. So even the employable are unemployed. Right up till PhD, I always re-educate myself. At my PhD level, I have one or two people who are passionate about what they are doing, and I appreciate them so much. But you have to re-educate yourself. If you said you want to focus on what you are taught in school, is it the school that they will just sell handouts? You don't even the students are not interested because the lecturers are not interested. Everybody sorting is the mainstay. We don't care because the education we celebrate in Nigeria wasn't meant to serve us. It wasn't meant to provide solution. We are mostly an informal educational system where You are neither literate nor illiterate. You are just borderline stupid. That's what we basically are in Nigeria. We don't really know anything. And it goes to if you look at how Nigerians react to societal issues, especially political issues, you will just see that our educational system is nowhere to be found. Just common reasoning. You could just see how someone is talking out of point and they are gladly defending their stupidity. Ignorance is bliss kind of something. The educational system of Nigeria was built to teach you ignorance. So the only way is for you to re-educate yourself. We have the internet today. It's not just about gossips. It's not about trending news, celebrity news. Well, ADC have cleared Tinubu, PDP have passed Peter Obi. It's not. Use these tools to educate yourself because you are not educated. You are not educated as long as it's Nigeria. The educational system in Nigeria is nothing to write home about. You have to educate yourself. And for those who have children, you have to educate your children. What they teach children is A is for apple. What they teach children is Mungo Park discovered River Niger. What they teach children is Nnamdi Azikiwe was the first president of Nigeria. These are the things they teach children. So you have the duty of teaching your child, and you have to be very intentional about it because there is a way the children tend to agree with their teachers in school more than their parents. So you have to let them know that you are their first parent. Forget about the Nigerian educational system. It is only going to be fixed the day Nigerians decide to change the system that has been built against them on all levels. Whenever that day comes, some of us are already ready.